Good afternoon, everybody. Today is November 12th, and the Board of Commissioners agenda setting meeting is called to order at 5:45. Will the City Clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Black.
Present.
Vice Mayor Hodges.
Here.
Commissioner Andrews.
Here.
Commissioner Douthard.
Present.
And for the record, Commissioner Weinstein had a planned time off.
Thank you. We have, at the moment, we have 5 items on the workshop agenda setting.
Sorry. Madam Mayor, I'd like to withdraw item B, which will be in front of us on December. I'll have it suggested for the agenda setting meeting for the workshop in December. And the landscape ordinance would be the same in December, item C. And item D, I'm going to withdraw. There was a request made by a business entity, and I wanted to try to work on setting up a policy with the commission, but they have failed to recontact me, so I'm going to just table it until if it comes up again, then we'll sit down and I'll talk to you about setting up a policy for that. So all I have on the agenda would be A and E for the workshop.
Madam Mayor, if I may, excuse me, I have a couple items. I've been getting bombarded with questions, a variety of things, from what's going on out here on 150th to the liverboards to everything across the board. So I know that we all promised this during our campaigns, but I think it's about time we schedule a town hall and open it up to questions, because I think a lot of people, I know we give them 3 minutes up here, but we don't answer their questions. So I'd really like to do that and discuss that on our next, in our next agenda setting meeting for the workshop. The second thing was an update on the liverboards, if we have something, Bob, for the next go round, because I think, like I said, I have questions every day about it. What's going on? How are we going to enforce it? Is it enforced now? And I think, just public just wants to know. The third thing is I would like a discussion on paying Clara's outside legal bills. The fourth thing is I want to thank Walt for providing us the legal overages over the past couple of years. And Commissioner Douthard, I owe you an apology. Commissioner Oakley's ethics hearings weren't on there. I did see the line above, and that got me confused, but nonetheless, I owe you an apology for saying that they were. But the fourth thing I would like to add to this, we did pay $12,537.36 for Darrell O'Neill's ethics complaint. I would like to discuss that and what remedies we have to that. The fifth thing is we have a charter officer whose contract runs out in a month. And I understand the consensus is not to go to RFP, but I would like an update on what his status is going to be, what contract we're going with. Is he getting a raise? I'd like to know what's going on with our city attorney going forward, because if he doesn't have a contract, how do we do that? Because we never voted on whether he was getting an extension or getting a contract. We just voted that we weren't going out to RFP. And the last thing is, I know this isn't going to be popular, but we do operate in the sunshine here. And I've asked some questions on this before, and I get a lot of speculation, and nobody really knows what's going on. So I would like a full report, and I'd like to know where we are with the following issues, and I'd like a full internal report on the details surrounding how they all came about. The first one is the Lefebvre versus Hendricks issue. The second one is the mayor versus Clara and the complications around that. And the last one was Commissioner Weinstein and Ralph's complaint to the Attorney General. All I want, I just think we need to be more transparent. So I would like these issues brought to light. Let's get them cleared up before the end of the year so we can start the year fresh and we don't have these things on our plate anymore. Thank you.
City Attorney, I think we've already discussed the Attorney General letter that Commissioner Weinstein wrote. Do we need to rehash that anymore? Isn't that done and done with?
It would be the pleasure of the majority of the board. You can take a vote on whether to add these or not. No, you
Let
have
me just
discussed a lot
clarify
of
what I'm
these
looking
before.
for. I'm not just looking, I want to know, we're aware now that it was done incorrectly. So that we all don't make the mistake again, I'd like to rehash how it all came about, why a sitting commissioner went to our city attorney, and why our city attorney wrote an opinion when he was asking for an opinion from the attorney general. That was negative towards me. I just, look, I think everything needs to be out in the open. This is sunshine laws. It's transparent government. Everybody should know everything that's on the table, and that's across the board. If you guys want to investigate me for something, knock yourselves out. But there's been no more secrets, no more pushing anything under the rug. Let's get all this stuff out in the open. Like I said, we start next year brand new and fresh, and we don't have to hide behind anything.
I'm not sure we're hiding anything, but it does take a consensus. So Doug, Mr. Commissioner, has listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 items that he wants to add. Now, do we want to go through those one by one, or can we do that just consensus on the whole lot?
I think the bottom line to his remarks regarding the situation that he brought up, I think each one needs to be introduced clerically. Talk about LaFay and Henricks or Clara and whatever the situation is there. I think it all should be individual instead of was one big group.
No, that's not what I was saying at all. I'm saying he's got 12 items that he would like to add to
Correct.
the
Correct.
workshop agenda.
Right.
We can either approve to do each one by consensus,
Right.
or we can approve by consensus to do all of them,
Okay.
which is what I would suggest.
You want to take a vote on each individual one, since they're all different subjects,
Okay.
whether you want to add it to the workshop discussions or not.
All right, the first one is to have a town hall. Do we have a consensus? Yes.
Yeah, I want to add some things too.
Okay, I'm just going through his particular ones first, and then we'll do yours.
Okay.
Okay. A town hall, consensus? Yes. Update on liverboards? I need some, yes, okay. An update on Clara's legal bills? Yes. $12,000 for Daryl's ethics complaint?
$12,537. That's what it is.
Okay.
I think that was paid by our insurance company.
Regardless, we paid it, and we had an overage that month, so I don't know what is paid by our insurance company and what we paid extra. Our taxpayers are on the hook for $12,537.
If it was done by Salzman, that came out of our insurance policy.
Does it matter? Why did we pay it?
We didn't pay it, our insurance company paid it.
Do we pay our insurance company?
Yeah, we're going to pay them if we pay him for that or not. So I say no on that.
We have to discuss who gets coverage and who doesn't. And I think we've already discussed that people in their course of action of their work get covered. So we need to have a stepping stone, or we need a barrier, we need somewhere to jump off of, John. We can't just say, okay, well, let's push that one away because we don't like it and it's a sensitive subject. Let's find out, was that paid? Why was that paid? Did somebody come to the board and ask? I mean, who gave the authorization for that? That's $12,000. $12,000 for something that he was found guilty of corruptly abusing his position. So we're just going to sweep that away because we're going to say the insurance company paid for it? Where do we start drawing the line on who gets to use?
And last meeting, I asked the city manager to come up with a document stating exactly what we will cover in the future and what we won't cover in the future. I guess that's where I see all this, And we haven't, he hasn't got it to us yet, or I haven't seen it if it's been done yet. But, that's what I think that we need more than anything else.
You don't want to discuss this then?
No, I don't.
And is there a reason? I just have to ask the question. Is there a reason you don't want to discuss it? Is it a sensitive subject?
Because, no, I said I don't want to discuss it.
That's your reason.
That's all I need to say to you.
Thank you for your transparency.
Commissioner?
Each one should be discussed individually, like I said originally, instead of doing it all under one moped. It should be,
That's what we're doing.
right, is what I'm trying to say.
But I'm
That's-
asking, are you in favor of going forward to have
Yes,
this
yes,
particular item?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And while I have sympathies with Commissioner Douthert, I think let's just go ahead and discuss it and get it done with. So that will go forward. Next, we have the charter officer update on the RFP for the attorney. I think do we all agree on that one?
It wasn't on the RFP. His contract is up at December 11th, and we did not vote on extending his contract. We voted on not doing an RFP. So we don't have a contract going forward after December 11th. He's a charter officer. Are we giving him a raise? Are we going to change some of the parameters of his contract? It needs to be discussed. I mean, he's operating, and to no disrespect, being very calm about this, but he's operating with one of his tenets of his contract that he's completely obliterated. He is supposed to come to the board and ask for permission every time he uses an outside attorney. I mean, I haven't sat on the board that long. I'm explaining what my reasoning is behind that.
That's a different topic, but the first topic about my contract, it states that it will continue unless terminated or that I resign. But it does end. So as long as there's no new one, the current existing contract would continue. I'm not seeking a raise at this time, so we could bring the contract back before you again for renewal, and we can discuss that probably at a regular meeting.
I mean, should we at least discuss the contents of his contract? We are well aware that there is one part of his contract that's not being followed. Are we going to delete it, or are we just going to sit around here and pretend that that he's just going to keep abusing it and we're not going to say any words about it? And we have to take a look at it. Why don't we read it as a group and we can kind of figure out what we're going to do with that, because it's not being followed. I mean, I think that's, you know.
I think it would bear discussion at a workshop and then come
Thank
back
you.
at a regular meeting.
Okay.
I need another person to say yes.
Yes.
Thank you. The next item was a full report on, three different ones. LaFave versus Hendricks.
Madam Mayor, if I may, I don't think it's right for us to be discussing personnel issues in a public forum.
Okay.
Y'all can do what you want to. I think that just opens the door for litigation and other issues that I don't think we want to go down that route. But
Well, I just want an update on where we are with the issue. And I think we need a full report on the background of the issue, because there are some holes in what went on. And I'm not going to bring it up during this. That's why I'm bringing it up for discussion in a workshop. We don't, Bob, that's the problem. I mean, I don't know where we are with any of these things, because every time I ask about it, I think that it's a dropped issue. I think it's this, I think it's that. If it's a dropped issue, then we can discuss it all day long.
In the LaFave versus Hendricks, the special magistrate mediator that was assigned, he investigated for the city internally, and he found no probable cause on the LaFave complaint, and also he found no probable cause on the Hendricks complaint, and there were some 4 or 5 page reports that you could read if you'd like to see those. I don't know that it's appropriate to discuss them by city council at a council meeting. But if you'd like to review those reports, I guess we could put those reports before you. They do deal with accusations of sexual harassment, counter accusation of sexual harassment. So we would prefer not to discuss those here. We have an internal confidential procedure that those things go through. Both complaints have been resolved. No one has pursued them further. No one has filed an EEOC complaint. Neither LaFave or Hendricks have filed EEOC complaints. So currently there is no pending issues on those.
Okay.
I think the attorney's fee issue for Hendricks was resolved. LaFave did not submit an attorney's fees, was not paid. She had a lawyer named Brian Battaglia. And then, so I think that's been resolved, and there's no pending legal invoices or any pending issues.
Ralph, is the matter dropped?
Yes, but both parties have dropped the
Then
matter.
what I want to know is I want a full investigation of how it happened. There's a.
That's in the reports by Andrew Salzman. He's detailed.
There's a
that.
report on how it all went down?
Yeah.
Oh,
he has 4 or 5 page
then we
reports.
definitely need to discuss that. Yeah, let's put it on the dais and let's talk about it. That'd be great. Thank you.
I don't think we need
I
to.
recommend against it, but you guys can vote.
Well, of course you don't think you need to, Maggie, because you're the one who went out into Jonathan Evans' office and told him about this. John Hendricks got handed this report as he walked out of that meeting, a meeting that wasn't live streamed. Okay? How in the world would somebody that was in an office inside of the building know what was going on out here in this? There was no way she could have seen it. There's no way she could have heard it.
I think if you wanted to pursue an additional complaint, you could file a complaint with HR, and they would pursue that complaint internally. It's something that's better handled by HR rather than in a public forum. There's been no grievance committee filed on either one of those. It does deal with the sensitive accusations.
I just don't know what's sensitive about a dropped
I mean,
accusation.
if it wasn't sexual harassment, I probably wouldn't have a problem with it, but because it has sexual harassment and
Okay, I'll go through, Bob, but we'll do an internal investigation on it. I want to know what happened. I want to know how that was handed to John Hendricks when he walked out of the meeting, when the meeting wasn't live streamed. That's what I want to know. Okay, so maybe somebody can write that down and we can figure that out.
Does it really matter how it was handed to him?
Yeah, it does. It does, because you know what? Because we have to stop
No, if
this.
someone's sitting in the audience here and goes in and tells somebody something, they have all the right in the world to do that.
But you filed a complaint before they even saw the actual footage of it.
I guess what we want to
It doesn't
avoid is
matter, so we're just going to
creating,
sweep this under the rug like everything else. I'm just at that point. I
Mayor,
just can't
point of
understand.
order.
I'd like to clean this up before we go into a new year. And nobody wants to talk about it because it's sensitive. Well, no, it's the sunshine.
Commissioner, we've already decided not to discuss it. If you wanted to.
Mayor, the
Yes,
thing that I'm
we
worried
just
about,
now.
please, is creating a hostile work environment. We don't want to create a sexual harassment or a hostile workplace or a hostile work environment by going over these things in the public forum. So, I mean, it's tough enough for these two individuals to have to go through these complaints about sexual harassment, then have it brought up in public and aired on public television. So that's why we have an internal human resources investigation on these types of complaints.
Okay.
And they're not handled by the commission. There's a fact finding that goes on, and then they're handled by the city manager.
All right.
And then there's a grievance process that's available if anybody is terminated or disciplined. In this case, there was no probable cause for any termination or discipline, and there was no further action that was filed by either party.
Okay. And then the last item Commissioner Andrews wanted was discussion about Commissioner Weinstein and her letter to the Attorney
I
General.
think, no, there was one, Mayor versus Clara, which I know of no
Oh,
actual case has
sorry.
been filed.
Well, didn't you just say that both those cases were no probable
That was
cause?
LaFay versus Hendrick, and then I think that he was saying that Clara was seeking attorney's fees or something, and there was a Clara versus the mayor versus Clara. I don't know of no litigation that's been filed on that.
It wasn't litigation. Go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Clara.
That was item 3 that Hodges just brought up, and they said yes. It was a town hall meeting, an update on liveaboards, and it had me.
What are the legal fees that you're seeking? I'm sorry, I don't understand the topic.
It's me in defense of things that I was doing in line of my job.
When the mayor called a special
Well, the
meeting
Attorney
to
General
try to
and all
fire
that.
Clara, that's what we want to talk about. I want to know what went on there. Okay, it all of a sudden got dropped because one person didn't show up for the special meeting and we didn't have a vote because it was going to be 2-2. So the toothpaste is out of the tube. The paper's already ran with it. I want to know where we stand with it. Is this still a pending issue? Does this woman have to work under the cloud of her job under fire? Or are we just going to sneak out of here with 3 months left in your term? I don't know, Maggie. Somebody's got to talk about this. Got to clean this stuff
I
up.
think what you're asking, is there a policy about whether we pay legal fees for employees or charter officers who retain their own attorneys?
No, that's not what I'm asking at all.
So anyway, that's the next one, Mayor. Is that the same thing that was already addressed in the town hall?
We can talk about that in the one that we addressed before about paying Clara's legal bills. We can find out what we need to know in that one. So you can scratch that one. That's fine.
So that's not going to be on the agenda.
No, we're already talking about that up in two items before about paying her legal fees.
Okay, very good.
So I'm not listed on the workshop agenda?
Yes, you are. Your legal fees, paying your legal fees is listed on the workshop
Yes,
agenda.
okay.
I don't,
So what's-
I don't see it on the agenda.
He's asking it to be put on the next workshop agenda.
Oh, well, he's saying it is on there.
We
but-
do, well, we already voted on it. It was number 3. We discussed
No, we
paying
didn't.
Clara's legal fees.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But then separately, you had,
Yeah, we can
agreed
talk
to
about it during that. That's fine.
okay, so that one's off the table. And then the last item was the Attorney General letter, which I think that's all been discussed and done with. And if you want more information, talk to the attorney.
Okay, so what went on? I mean, is that the proper etiquette that a commissioner can go to our attorney against another commissioner? Is that what we're operating under? I mean, that's what I want to know.
We already discussed that.
Well, what is the answer?
Well, I'm not going to give a legal opinion.
Well, we already discussed it. You should know it already. We didn't discuss it. We didn't discuss it. All I want to know is if that is what we're doing from now on. Is it the first person that gets to Ralph gets legal coverage and everybody else has to fend for themselves?
I think we decided going forward that everything would have to come to the full commission before any Attorney General opinions were being requested. We could put that into a policy. We could put that something in front of you to vote on.
Do you stand by your opinion in that letter, by the way, Ralph?
Commissioner Weinstein asked.
That's not my question. My question to you is, do you stand by your opinion?
So in the Attorney General's office.
Thank you for
said
talking
that
over me. I'm asking you a question.
The Attorney General's office said that she should ask the city attorney for an opinion. My opinion is that it was not a sunshine law violation. My opinion was, though, that your direction, your suggestion that we may fire or should fire, forget the terminology you used, there were some words that you pointed out subsequently that showed it wasn't an out-and-out directive that he should be terminated. The Public Works Director, based on the prior allegations at a prior employment place. So, at the time, I thought that you were directed that he should be terminated. You did bring up later that your actual language used words like may instead of shall or something similar. So I would agree that there's some gray area there, that you may not have violated that directive.
Ralph, do you stand by your opinion in your letter?
Yes.
You do? Okay.
Yes.
Well, then I'd like to discuss that on an open forum with everybody, and everybody else can see the clause that you violated. So thank you.
Okay. So that would be, the issue would be whether a commissioner should direct the city manager to terminate a department director.
Yeah, except for the fact that you just said that I didn't direct him. You just said that out here. I just can't even believe this. Let's go on to the next one. This is ridiculous. Let's get it done with. Let's stop this. John, you're up.
Yeah, I'd like it.
Well, excuse me, we still have to get a consensus to go forward with that particular topic. Do we have a consensus or not? I say no. All right, we can't go forward, we don't have a consensus. Go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to get an update on where we're at with the generator. Haven't heard anything on that for a while since we voted to do it.
Can I give you something verbally now, which might satisfy?
That'd be enough.
Okay, we've got the 3 quotes in finally. I think the cheapest quote was 96 or 98,000 for the generator. And right now we're doing the RFP for the building that the generator sits in. And that'll be coming before the commission probably in January.
Okay, thank you. Second thing I had was, I would like to, we have the evaluation of the charter officers coming up in January. I would like to get the paperwork at our November workshop to give us time to work on it prior to, so it's not handed to us at the last minute, we got to run home and do it, so we can do it. I would like the evaluation forms for all 4 charter positions. I think we discussed doing 2 in January and 2 in February, if I remember correctly. It was like Ralph and Clara and January, and then it'd be Walt and the city manager in February. But we can do all 4 in January if the commission wants to do all 4. But I'd like to get the paperwork, so I'm not sitting there on Christmas Eve trying to write this stuff up, or New Year's Eve, whatever. So I would like to get that paperwork.
Do we have consensus to go forward with that?
Yep, sure.
Okay,
That's all I have.
that's it?
Thank
Okay.
you.
I have 2 items I'd like to present. One is city attorney. I had a meeting with this man named John Parks. He represents Citizens Climate. He represents the Citizens Climate Lobby, and he wanted to come and make a presentation to the commission about global warming and sea rise. Consensus? Okay. And the second one is another presentation by a woman who represents R.C. Pinellas. We also had a meeting, Mr. Daniels and I, with her, and she just helps the needy, basically. And she would like to do a 10-minute presentation. Okay? Okay. That's all I have. Does anybody else have anything else for the workshop?
I just would like to review where we're at, so I need to put this together, and I don't want to miss anything, so I apologize for going back over this. But we have the update on the Marina Audit. We have the traffic light request at 150th. We have an update on the 150th construction. We have an update on the liveaboard ordinance. We have discussion on the attorney's bills for the fire chief of $12,537 and change. I can't remember the cents. I apologize. John Parks for the Citizens Climate Lobby, R.C. Pinellas in reference to their assistance with the needy. We have town hall to, to arrange a town hall meeting. I missed the subject on the town hall. Is it just generally questions that they might have to be transparent?
I mean, I would probably list a few of the major items that we can definitely be prepared to answer, and if something else comes up, they can ask whatever questions they want. We may not have the answer that night.
Okay. The discussion on the RFP for the attorney. Did I get that correct? Okay.
Well, it's just a discussion on how we're moving forward with the attorney. So
Okay.
that's all.
So how we're moving forward.
Yes, the RFP has already been shot down. So.
Sorry. And am I missing something?
Yeah, discussion on paying Clara's outside legal bills.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay, I've got it.
Do you need to read back the ones that are already on there?
I'm sorry.
Do you need to read back the ones that are already on the?
The 2 that I added, I did. Those were right at the beginning.
Oh, okay, I missed it, sorry.
The A and the E actually become A and B, but
Okay.
there's no particular order.
Good. All right. Does anybody have anything else? We're now adjourned at 6:14. And
act in accordance with one of our best, most ethical self, and grant the benefits of the doubt unto all those we shall meet. Thank you.
Will city clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Black,
Present?
Vice Mayor Hodges,
Here.
Commissioner Andrews.
Here.
Commissioner Douther.
Present.
And for the record, Commissioner Weinstein is on a planned trip.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Will city clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Andrews,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hodges,
Yes.
Commissioner Douther,
Yes.
Mayor Black.
Yes. Next item is we have no proclamations. We do have some presentations. City manager?
Yes. Is Leroy Walker here? Hi, Leroy. Come on up front, Mayor. Leroy is being recognized tonight as our Employee of the Year for 2019. Leroy works as our mechanic, taking care of all of our vehicles, and he used to have a lot of baling wire, but now I think we've gotten some newer vehicles, so it's not quite as bad. So Leroy is being recognized here and also at our employee awards banquet that we'll have on Thursday night. Thank you, sir. Next up is Barbara Mooney. Barbara is being recognized tonight as our Volunteer of the Year for 2019. The nomination came through, and she's put in, how many hours do you think you've had this year? I know, so thank you very much. Mayor, we make the presentation,
I think that thing works now. Try talking to it.
Okay, great. Candy Madden and Audrey. Okay. And Audrey. Whoa, I'll be okay. Hang on 1 second. Can you hold on to that one for me? Okay. Everybody's heard of Trash Pirates, right? Who here hasn't heard of Trash Pirates? Well, Audrey and Candy, I'm sorry, has just been totally all over the place with getting volunteers. I think you had 157 this the beginning first Saturday of every month. They're out there and they're working hard, and they've coordinated at the Johns Pass Park and also over at the Archibald Park, and they work real hard to keep our city clean. So for all the time and effort that both of you have put in, we wanted to make sure that you got the Outstanding Citizen of the Year Award for 2019. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, once again, congratulations to the winners and congratulations to all the people who were nominated. It's A lot of hard work out there, volunteers too. Next, I'll open the floor for public comment on anything that is not on the agenda. Please limit your time to 3 minutes and state your full name and address. Does anybody wish to speak?
Robert Preston, 425 South Bayshore Drive, Madeira Beach. I have just a couple of things. I would like some way to take care of the 140th Avenue Speedway. It's getting worse and worse. The other evening, a couple almost got ran over. Instead of the people slowing down, they honked the horn. There's a curve there, and they can't. They're going so fast that as the people try to get across on North Bay Shore to South Bay Shore, they can't get across by the time the cars are on top of them. There's no crosswalk, there's no stop for pedestrians or anything like that. One of these days, somebody is going to get hurt and hurt badly, because also they travel way too fast. They're up into the 40, 45 miles an hour zone. It's a 25 mile an hour zone. So I'd really hate to see somebody get hurt. And we actually need to do something, crosswalks, stop for pedestrians, whatever the case may be. But 140th is one of the bad places in the city. The other issue that I have is 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, when the drunk fishermen stole the fishing boat and knocked down docks and pilings throughout the Boca Ciega area off of 137th and South Bay Shore and by that area and the Fingers south of Pelican, like Johns Pass and Crystal Isle and stuff like that. So anyway, they knocked down some slow speed signs, and they still haven't been put back up. And additionally, they were in actually the wrong place because they faced towards Crystal Isle rather than towards the bay. So it would be really nice if we could get somebody to address the pilings that were knocked down for the slow speed signs and get those slow speed signs back up. Fish and Wildlife Biology was out looking for a manatee a couple weekends ago that had 4 cuts on its side, and they thought it was going to not make it. So these people are traveling way too fast in these areas, and it's really not getting addressed. The signs might help, but they still need to be put up. So thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak? Floor is closed for public comment. Next on the agenda, we have the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
A second.
Any discussion? Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Black,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hodges,
Yes.
Commissioner Andrews.
Yes.
Commissioner Downford.
Yes.
Next on the agenda, we have ordinance 2019-24. City clerk?
Uh-oh. Yes, ma'am. I'll read the ordinance in its entirety. It'll cover the procedures. Ordinance 2019-24 An ordinance of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, prescribing the manner of holding the general municipal election on March 17, 2020, for the purpose of electing a mayor and a commissioner for District 1 and a commissioner for District 2, providing authorization for the City of Madeira Beach through its city clerk to contract with the Pinellas County Supervisor of Elections, providing for publication, authorizing election expenditures, identifying the Pinellas County Canvassing Board as the canvassing board for the March 17, 2020 election, identifying the location of polling places, authorizing a runoff election if necessary, providing for repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith to the extent of such conflict, and providing for an effective date. Whereas pursuant to the City Charter, Section 3.4, subsection A, elections for commissioners of District 1 and 2 shall be held in even-numbered years, and term for commissioners of districts shall be 2 years, and elections for the mayor commissioner shall be 3 years, allowing the seat to alternate with commissioners of districts. And whereas due to the preference primary, the City of Madeira Beach general municipal election shall be held in the city on the third Tuesday in March. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Commissioners of the City of Madeira Beach, Florida, Section 1, an election shall be held in the City of Madeira Beach, Florida on the third Tuesday, March 17, 2020, for the purpose of electing a mayor at large seat for a term of 3 years and electing a commissioner for District 1 and commissioner District 2 for a term of 2 years. The city clerk is hereby authorized to execute a contract with the Pinellas County Supervisor of Elections to allow the Office of Supervisor of Elections to assist the city in the March 17, 2020 municipal election, subject to the conditions, consideration, and agreements described in the contract. Section 3, the first meeting of each newly elected member of the Board of Commissioners for induction into office will be held on or before the last day of the month in which the election was held. City Charter, Section 4.8. Section 4, the Pinellas County Canvassing Board shall be the canvassing board for all elections under the City Charter. The actions of the canvassing board shall be reported to the Board of Commissioners at their next meeting following the election. The Board of Commissioners shall meet following the certification for the purpose of declaring the results of said election. City Charter, Section 3.4b. Section 5, in accordance with the City Charter, Section 3.4, subsection E, in the event that no candidate for each office secures a majority of the votes cast in each contest for office in the March 17, 2020 municipal election, then and in that event, another election shall be held on the second Tuesday in April 14, 2020, at which election only the names of the 2 candidates having the highest number of votes in the first election in which no candidate received a majority of the votes cast in each contest shall be placed upon the ballot. At the second election, the electors may vote for each contest appearing on the ballot. In the event 2 candidates for each office should receive an equal number of votes for the same office in the second election provided for above, another election shall be called and held on the 4th Tuesday following such election, May 12, 2020, at which election the names of the candidates receiving the same number of votes shall be placed upon the ballot. In accordance with the City Charter, Section 3.4, subsection B, the location of the polling place, Pinellas County Precinct numbers 415 and 301 for the elections will be held at the following locations. Precinct 415, Madeira Beach Municipal Building, City Center Room, 300 Municipal Drive, Madeira Beach, Florida. Precinct 301, Faith Community Church of Seminole, 11501 Walker Avenue, Seminole, Florida, 33772. That's it.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? The floor is now open for public comment on this item. Floor is closed. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2019-24.
I'll second.
Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Douthert?
Yes.
Commissioner Andrews?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hodges?
Yes.
Mayor Black?
Yes. We have no contracts and agreements. The next item is new business, public hearing for 4 COPs as alcohol beverage application.
Question, Madam Mayor. Why is this not coming to the workshop first? In the past, all license requests have come to the workshop to be discussed, not discussed at the meeting here. I'm asking that this be moved to the workshop.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, if I may, we have not brought all items on alcoholic beverage establishments to workshops prior to hearings. There's no specific pattern for that, and so we've always scheduled them directly onto the City Commission meeting. We do that through the clerk's office as soon as the application comes in.
And they're required to have a public hearing, correct?
That's right.
Go ahead.
I think that might also be because these are quasi-judicial as opposed to legislative or proprietary function of government. It's a quasi-judicial application by a private applicant. So we have a public hearing so they can respond to all the comments, questions, staff presentations, and typically the applicant will make a presentation themselves.
In the past, though, we have, like, excuse me, the bar at the corner down here came before the workshop, then came to the meeting. You know, so I'm just saying, why are we changing things? You know, in the past, we have taken it to the workshop first.
It's possible that some have gone to the workshop first and may have come here and then be referred back to workshop for additional discussion. That usually we have a deadline once something comes in where there's a certain amount of advertisement before it gets to the commission, and we automatically begin that process so that we meet all the statutory requirements. But it's possible some things come before you and then be referred back to the workshop for more open discussion. But that's not been the case in every instance, and so it's not a pattern I was aware of.
I think also, whether it matters, and obviously it's up to the board, but this is a review of a license that was already mentioned within the development process as Hotel A. And although I wasn't here at the time, but it's my understanding it was well vetted. It was a hotel that was going in there, and they were going to have a full service alcohol and so forth. So this is now the process of finalizing it with the hotel name and making that application through to Tallahassee. It has to be signed off by us, but they, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Linda, has to be signed up by us or approved or turned down by the commission. And then if it's approved, it's signed off by us before it can go up to Tallahassee for their approval, correct?
That's correct, it does. Mm-hmm. Which we cannot do unless because we do have a requirement for an additional hearing here in this city for alcoholic beverage establishment. It's kind of like a special zoning. And this is a little unusual because it was anticipated and described in the development agreement and in the PD documents that were approved for the town center. Typically, we don't have that situation.
Yeah, Commissioner, is there something you don't like on it? And I'm asking this in all seriousness because, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward, to me, looks like a pretty straightforward application. But if there's something you want to discuss, we got time now. We'll hash it out now if it's going to be.
That's not the point. The point is, why are we changing how we do things? If we're going to change it for this one, then from this point on, this is the way it's going to be done, that's what I'm asking. You know, we have certain ways that we do things. And you keep talking about it.
Yeah, I was saying you're singing my song, man.
So
Thanks.
why are we changing it? Because this was approved back in 2015 or 2016 in the agreement. The 4COP never came before us at that point and has never come before us until today. Why? Why didn't it come to the last workshop? Why couldn't it go to the next workshop? That's what I'm asking.
No, I can't answer that. I just don't know. I mean, Linda seems to think that we don't send every one of them to a workshop. So I don't know. I don't know who's right, who's wrong.
Because it's quasi-judicial, we have to have a public hearing. So I'd recommend you open the public hearing, get the staff report, get any input from the applicants, take public comment. If you still have questions or you want to have further information or you would like staff to look into certain things, certainly then you could continue this hearing to a time and date certain to a workshop. But we have to advertise the date and time of a public hearing I don't recall going to workshop on individual applications for alcoholic beverage licenses, so I don't know if that happened before my time, but typically these are quasi-judicial, so that's why we have a public hearing. You certainly can take more information either at a workshop, although you can't vote there, or you can continue to the next regular meeting. But you should open it up today because it's been advertised and the applicant's here and the public's here and they want to talk about it probably, and staff is here tonight, and Director Portell can give you the staff information. And you can begin the public hearing. You don't have to vote tonight, but you should at least open the public hearing and begin to take comments. This has been advertised, both notice, it's been in the newspaper, and Linda, was there also mailing to people within
Yes.
so many feet? Mm-hmm. So they're all here expecting this to be heard tonight.
Well, then, I think we need to go forward. That being said, I'll open the floor to for public comment.
Do you want to take any more staff report first, Linda? I don't know
Oh,
if
I'm
you're,
sorry.
Sure.
you're full,
I'm sorry, I
finished.
didn't mean to interrupt.
On page 168 of your agenda packet, I'm sorry, page 132 of your agenda packet, you'll find the staff report from Director Portell.
Because this is quasi-judicial and there are very specific criteria that the City Commission needs to review in order to meet all of the criteria as required by the code. Section 110-534 states that the Board of Commissioners will establish an alcoholic beverage use, that you will have public hearings on all the property and notify owners within 300 feet of the subject property at least 15 days prior to the hearing. That was done. And then in section 110-532, there's a list of criteria that have to be met and reviewed as part of your hearing process. And I will go over those individually. Number one, the extent to which the location and the extent to which the proposed alcoholic beverage request will adversely affect the character of the existing neighborhood. So what we look at here from a planning perspective is, does this use as proposed and its specific location change the nature of the use of the neighborhood? In this case, the request is permitted and specifically anticipated in the special area plan and also in the plan development and the development agreement for this property and the area in general. The entire area is defined as being mixed use. This particular lot is located on Madeira Way. There are other alcoholic beverage establishments in the area. And the zoning for the property is historically, even before the special area plan, was historically C3, which is retail commercial, which has always allowed alcoholic beverage establishments. So this particular one would not be making any change to the character of the zoning or the use in the area. The extent to which the traffic generation is as a result of this location of the proposed alcoholic beverage request will create congestion or present a safety hazard. That's criteria number 2. This is unusual because we don't usually have a traffic impact study associated with a use as a whole when it comes to us. In this case, of course, this being part of the special area plan and the town center development, this would be located in an area for which these uses have already been analyzed in a traffic impact study presented and approved by DOT and by the City Commission in its approval of the development orders in the past. In this, also, there are impact fees associated with this development that will be paid before this use can come online. And so the funding for the roadway improvements have to be approved. In this case, they can get credit for roadway improvements they are making towards that impact fee requirement, and in fact are making more roadway improvements in terms of cost than the impact fee was actually required of them. But all of those roadway improvements have to be approved, and the roads have to be passable and usable. Everything has to be done before a CO can be given and this use could take effect. Number 3 is whether or not the proposed use is compatible with the particular location for which it is proposed. And again, in this case, as was discussed earlier, this is going to be a alcoholic beverage use inside of a hotel. The hotel has already been approved for that location. There's a development agreement and a development order for the hotel, and it has always been described as full service with the bar anticipated and approved as part of the development agreement in the past. So again, this town center was described in the special area plan and the area in general as being mixed use district. It's along Madeira Way. There are other alcoholic beverage establishments there. The land development regulations for this section, however, also required that we measure to restrict bars to being no closer than 300 feet to property occupied by churches, synagogues, temples, religious worship, public or private schools operated for the instruction of minors, or youth recreation or community centers. And I have measured all of the distances around it, and it does not violate any of those measurement requirements. Number 4 is whether or not the proposed use will adversely affect the public safety. The requested license is not anticipated to affect public safety. The subject site is located in a commercial district, which includes the uses and considers this, or defines this use as compatible with the area, because it is part of a larger use, the hotel. It's not a standalone bar, which sometimes can have a little bit more of an impact than one that's incorporated as part of a larger use. And number 5, the applicant has to have no outstanding charges, fees, interests, fines, or penalties associated with the property in order for this to be approved, and there are no outstanding fees or fines at this time. And as was stated, all credit for impact fees have to be made before a CO is available for use on the property. That's the full list of the criteria that we have to evaluate, and the staff report addresses each of those as I've just described them. Don't know if the applicant is here, but I'm open to questions as well.
I got a question for you on the, for the traffic, the way they're changing Madeira Way. Who, was that requested in the development agreement? Was that our idea, or was that the developer's idea?
That was, as you know, I wasn't here as to who originally brought up the idea, but it is defined, that is actually, okay, if you're referring to Madeira Way going down to two,
right.
The restriction of Madeira Way back to a 2-lane road is actually predates this development. It was discussed in special area plans for the area, the 2 previous special area plans iterations, even before the town center was proposed. So it was my understanding that when they brought their design in, they were reflecting what historically had been proposed for the special area plan. I wasn't here at the time to know what kind of discussions occurred prior to it being proposed, but I can see that in the special area plans, it was always anticipated to go down to 2-lane road.
But I from reading the development agreement, I thought that it said that was, they wanted to take it down to 1 lane each way, so they could put wider sidewalks in for the shops and things like that. I remember that correctly.
They did discuss that as an explanation, but that has also been discussed in previous special area plans, because that's the standard for redesign of urban areas, is a wider sidewalk and more pedestrian access.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, if the developer's asking for this, why are we giving him credit towards the impact fee if this is what he wanted? Not what the city wanted, but what he wanted. That's what I'm trying to get to the bottom line of.
Well, their impact fees actually are credited primarily towards the work that they're doing on 150th, because those are the FDOT impacts. They have to make these improvements to the roadway on Madeira Way just as if they were any development that was impacting traffic and access points. And in this particular case, what they're having to make those improvements, but I have advised them that they will probably not actually get credit for the cost on Madeira Way, that most of their cost that they're getting credit for is actually out on 150th. These are just required as part of their design.
So the work that, you're saying the work they're doing on 150th right now to make the turn lanes bigger going into the new condominiums, and to the what I call the Holton property down the end. Mm-hmm. That, they're getting credit for that, for, once again, this is for their developments, not, but we're giving them impact credit for that?
Yeah, yes, they do get impact credit for that, yes. Not all the way down to the Holton property, that's a different project, and that project also has to pay impact fees and will only get credit for the portion of the work down at that end of the 150th corridor.
Okay.
They also have drainage and other type improvements they have to make. They're fixing a number of drainage problems along 150th as well.
You know, Doug, I think this goes back to what you were asking for earlier. What the heck is going on 150th? You know, and, you know, all I see is that they're adding extra lanes so they can turn into the new condominiums, you know, that are coming up and stuff like that. You know, so I guess I don't understand why the residents, that's come, you know, since, you know, they're not being, it's being taken away from impact fees that they would have to pay. Who's paying for that, which ends up on all the residents back, you know, and that to me does not make sense. So I guess I don't understand the law or the reasoning behind it. That's all I had.
Well, I think at this time, would the applicant wish to speak? Hi.
You'll need to hold that up close.
Just got to give it a minute.
Okay, no? Good. So, first of all,
Sir, you'll have to speak into the mic, though. I'm sorry.
First of all, the Canberra is getting close. I think we'll open March. Upscale hotel always plan to have food and beverage and liquor. As far as the comments, you know, I know you weren't here then. I wasn't really here at the beginning of the project either. Purchased the project in 2016 or 17 or so. Just to put it out there, paid a building permit fee to the city of $325,000, spending more than $1.9 million on improvements to Madeira Way and on 150th Street. The impact fees you're talking about, they're coming back from the city. Eventually, when the triangle gets built and all that, the impact fees that we're getting back are about $40,000. Spending $1.9 million. Madeira Way wasn't my idea. The project was approved with Madeira Way being a two-lane street. The city at the time wanted that. Like Linda had said, the city had a master plan going way back that showed that street being narrowed. You know, we're going to plant palm trees all up and down 150th, build wide sidewalks. You know, we tried to do everything to be a good neighbor here. And really, for us to come in for a liquor license on a hotel, you needed a liquor license, and for you to try to table it, John, and put it onto a workshop, when you just gave the hippie bar and other stuff liquor licenses on Madeira Way that are party kind of places, I think it's pretty obvious
And I understand what you're saying.
what you're doing here,
I
right?
understand what you're saying, Kevin. But what I'm saying, they came in on a workshop and then it went to.
It's a totally different
That's
thing,
nothing.
right? I mean, this
Let
is
me
a
finish,
full-service hotel.
I'm nothing against, and I will approve this, but I'm just saying, why are we changing the way we're doing business?
Why are you trying to make it seem like we're the bad guys? We're spending $1.9 million
I'm
on the
not.
streets,
I'm just saying, why
right?
are we changing the way we're
Right?
doing
I mean,
business?
ask Robert, ask anyone at the city how cooperative we've tried to be.
I don't think that you're, you know,
And, huh?
I think you're just, it's a normal thing. I don't think John was trying to imply anything.
Well,
He's just
guys, $1.9
asking.
million is a lot to spend, right? On redoing the city streets to make them look great. It isn't just for the condos. You know, there's There's a million curb cuts. Those buildings on 150th are falling down on their own, right? There's a million curb cuts all up. It's a terrible-looking entrance to the city of Madeira Beach. You've got a beautiful city hall. You've got a beautiful Archibald Park. Do you really want the entrance to your city to be what it's been? So I'm happy to answer any questions, but I mean, I really would appreciate it if we didn't table this. Our brand, Cambria Hotels, which is a choice hotel, will not open us without a liquor license. So once you approve, we have to send it up to Tallahassee. I have others around the state. Certainly, you're all welcome to vet me or anyone else in my group. The state does that anyways, so I'd really appreciate it if you didn't table it. Happy to answer any other points that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll open the floor for public comment now.
You have to leave it on for a minute.
Mayor, commissioners, city manager, staff. My name's Bill Carnes. I'm at 11055 9th Street East, Treasure Island, Florida. And I was part of the original development of the Madeira Beach Town Center. Really just wanted to clarify that the road improvements that are being done on 150th Avenue are being shared. They're shared between the hotel and the condominium projects and the new Marina office. That's all in the town center plan. It doesn't just benefit our condos. They provide access to get into the condominiums that are also along the south side. These improvements are being paid for by the developers. And there's very, very little, as Kevin stated, out of close to $2 million. It's about 40 grand that's being credited back. And as Kevin said, these are going to be great improvements, going to make Madeira Beach the nicest gateway to the barrier islands. I think everyone should be proud of it. And I think the majority of the community is proud of it. I hear it every day. And that's all I had to say. I hope you approve the 4COP. Thank you.
Does anybody else wish to speak? Floor is now closed. Any more discussion from the board?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the request for alcoholic beverage use permit 2019-02 for a 4COPS license for special motel, hotel, liquor, beer, wine by drink or in sealed container for consumption on premise where sold for the Cambria Madeira Beach Hotel.
I'll second.
Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Andrews,
Absolutely.
Vice Mayor Hodges,
Yes.
Commissioner Douthert,
Yes.
Mayor Black.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, if I may ask the clerk, can you do the research on that issue? Because I wasn't aware of any requirement we had on sending alcohol applications to the workshop first.
I'm happy to do that. I
Okay,
will do
thank
that.
you.
Next on the agenda, reports and correspondence. Do we have any reports from the commission? City attorney, any reports?
No, Mayor.
And city manager?
Mr. Pierce has an update report that he'd like to give you, and I'll have in writing a report on an update for the liveaboards, but we're in the process of giving warnings on the liveaboards currently as we gear up, get everything set so we can give the permits out at the marina and move forward with that program. We're looking at an implementation date of January 1st to give everybody enough notice. We also met with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office that's going to be doing the enforcement, and they're on board with the process. And as we had mentioned prior to the whole master plan of our enforcement, we were making some headways with the state on getting their authority to take in some of the state waterways into our jurisdiction so we can enforce that ordinance. And I had a conversation today with the city attorney and the county attorney, assistant county attorney, in reference to doing something similar on the county lands. And I have a meeting on the 28th of this month with the county administrator again in reference to that. So I will put something in writing so you have it at the workshop, but in a nutshell, that's kind of the update on where we stand with the liveaboard ordinance. If you have any questions, I'll answer them. Otherwise, I'll turn over the floor to Mr. Pierce. Well,
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, just something regarding our auditor, our city auditor. He is in the final year of his contract, and he is responsible for auditing the fiscal year 2019, and he's already started that. But since he is in the final year of his contract, just wanted to inform the board that I did discuss with him that the fact that we do have to put this out to bid for our new auditor for the starting in the 2020 audit, and in the aspect of trying to be proactive, the first order of business of doing this is to form a committee, and there's a specific state statute, Florida statute, as far as the auditor selection procedures. It's section 218.391, and it's very specific and very detailed on how the auditor is selected. And what I would like to do, like I said, and to be proactive, I do have a recommendation on the formulation of the committee. The statute indicates that the chief executive officer of the city manager and the finance director cannot be a member of the committee, but they can serve as in an advisory capacity, which I would like to do. The formation of the committee, which I would like to recommend, I know the city has had a great relationship with Nick Roca, who is our financial advisor. I would like him, and I've already asked him if he'd be willing to serve on this committee. He has done a lot for the city and recently handled the RFP for the $15 million bond that we got for the stormwater. He has a good relationship with the Budget Review Committee and has attended several meetings and is under contract with the city right now. I would also like, in reading the statutes, and by the way, I also gave a copy of this to Ralph for his review too and his purview, and him and I discussed a little bit of this today. The other part of the makeup of this committee is I think that there should be, and the auditor recommends, that there be a member of the board. And so I'd like to ask the mayor to appoint a board member to this committee. And then the other recommendation that I would like to make is 2 members of the Budget Review Committee. So what I'm suggesting is a total member of 4 people on the committee. Don't want to have too many on there, but enough to make the decision. But I guess what I'd like to do is come back at the December regular meeting with this item and have the committee set and the board approve the committee so that, starting basically in January, this committee can go full steam ahead and do what they need to do. This is a very important thing, and we don't want to have this delayed in any way.
Ralph, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Is there anything against the city laws on this at all?
Is against anything what? I'm sorry?
Anything against the city laws regarding this, having those boats moved out of the water? Is there anything wrong with that?
I don't understand that question.
The boats are in the water.
The liveaboards?
Yeah, yes.
Yes, we have an ordinance that restricts their usage. Part of the problem is, and it's kind of unrelated to what Walt was talking about, but part of the problem is the sanitary conditions. They've been pumping waste product into the waterway. So that's why we started with this discussion about the liveaboard ordinance, and we passed it, and now we're in the educational phase. We do have pump-out pumps, for lack of a better term. Probably don't have the technical term, I apologize, but they can pump out their boats at our marina for free, and they can go on their way, but the problem is they don't. And we have, we've had residents and area community members have even spoken out about some of the garbage that they throw out into the waterway and everything else. So it's our waterway, whether it's here in Madeira Beach or whether it's in the county area or in the state area, it's all of our water being polluted, and that's why we took the actions that we did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing further.
And the last item would be any reports from the city clerk.
Yes, we have a vacancy on the Planning Commission, and Kurt is advertising that, and deadline for those applications is December 1st, so that will be on the regular meeting in December. Ask the city manager, I know you're wanting to get the agenda out now. Do you want me to put that on the January meeting instead? The Planning Commission appointment?
Why don't we look at it in the morning? We'll get the agenda out tomorrow.
Okay, but we do have a vacancy, and Kurt is advertising that, and we do have the other applications that we had, and we're going to add those, and so we're hoping that we get a lot more for consideration.
What we can do is we can do the placeholder like we normally do.
Yes, sir.
And let the agenda run through the regular approval process that we do internally and make sure that it gets back out to the commission in time for the second Tuesday meeting of December. So we should have that information by December the 1st, and we can make sure it's added to their packet so when they receive it.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Don't we just bump up the first alternate? Don't we have a first alternate for the Planning Commission? Because we approved a group of people to be on the Planning Commission, but then we had 2 alternates, correct?
We do, and they would have to apply for regular, we don't have alternates on the Planning Commission.
Oh, I thought,
No, it used to a long time ago, but that
okay.
changed.
oh, I thought for sure that, I thought that's what we voted on the other day. I thought that we had a couple of people that were.
I have 4, and then we just
Okay.
got a new one because of the advertisements. Uh-huh.
I totally misspoke then. Sorry about that.
Anything else, city clerk?
That's it.
Okay, very good. Well, with that, it's 7:03, and we are adjourned.